Hi, I'm Seamless, and today is Wednesday, which means it's time for a new viewer track review video. If you'd like to have one of your tracks submitted and used in one of these videos, hop on over to the Discord, which is linked in the description of this video, where there's rules and a submission area, and mods to help you out to make sure everything's all good and cool and neat, that I might maybe randomly select one of your songs to be in one of these videos, which is how that works. Also happening is a whole different challenge called Process This, where I give you a bit of audio and you get to make a thing out of it. It's not as stringent as usual. It's really mainly just kind of have, really just want to have a good time with it. And 3 of the top winners will have licenses to FL Studio Producer Edition, or the equivalent cash to be spent in the ImageLand store for extra stuff if you want to do that. And then there's also going to be 2 more winners, the total for top 5, and all of whom will have their videos of their tracks played on my song. On my channel. Their songs played on my channel. I hope that made sense. There's a video in the description of this channel, of this video. So many words that are interchangeable that don't mean the same thing. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Today, our first person is Voidcall. Here's Totem. I think we've heard some of his stuff before. So, here comes this. That might be some of the best use of FL stock percussion I've heard in a very long time. Like, especially that snare. That's the most legit I've ever heard that snare. Like, wow. If you like doing stuff with FL stock this much, I'd recommend, like, So, okay. Actually, I was just thinking, some of these samples in here, I mean, most of the time when I hear FL stock stuff, my immediate reaction is to not like it. And there's that, especially like, like the old Club Basic kick and snare clap and that kind of thing. Like, if I just hear those in songs, it just makes me like, ugh. And it's not really a reasonable approach to take, because if you're not an FL user or a producer, that you don't have that reaction. Like a listener of music isn't going to be like, oh, hey, it's that sound. They're not gonna like, ah. But what's interesting is that I don't have that feeling at all with this track. I identify the samples that are in here, and I don't have any of that like ick feel about it, and it feels very legit and done, with the exception of things like the crashes, like that guy. And there's another one that was just very like not as polished as the rest of it. And I did also sort of notice, I noticed that the track at large is incredibly mono. You probably saw in the Vectorscope that like there's those little wide moments of stereo, and they were cool. Like I dug the mix being like that. It wasn't perfectly mono. It wasn't like a straight line up and down, which is what that would look like if it was. It had motion to it, so there was stereo presence. It was just extremely tight, and it, I think, made some of your top end a little burny, which made some of the intermediary bits sometimes like kind of hot. Although this is a fine song. Like the beat was cool, it was nice and smooth, and like the sculpting of the material, like this, because I'm aware of the source material, why I'm impressed with this, because I know what kind of work had to go into making that sound like that. So good job, Voidcall. Coming up after that, we have my downloads folder, which is hidden for me. Here it is. It is Solaroid Light Up. Woo! Look at that. That's some funky manipulation. I like it. It ends like that too. I'm pretty sure this is the big old tape stop. Okay. Let's see. Oh, that's funky. I'm excited to see what that's like. Yeah. And here we go.
Prepared to die. to die.
Yep. Okay, so this track fascinates me. So first off, it's great. Mixed well, present, musical, fun. Though it has a pretty glaring example of what most people would have considered a problem for a track like this, which is this sort of two-track syndrome, where there is a musical component, there is the bass component, but they don't really feel like they're from the same track. And in fact, what this actually feels like for me, if I were to examine this from the person who has this mindset, which is essentially someone who likes dubstep from 2009, is to say that like this actually kind of sounds like there was a song and then this got like cut and timed up, and now the DJ is layering a drop from some other thing. Some actual, like, this is what they would do, right? Like, you would get someone who would do, like, you can hear some other completely different piece of music, and this really sick bass drop I got. And, like, and you kind of cut it up and time it and loop it like that. And that ends up being how this would end up being done. But, like, this is now, like, now that's not what's happening. Now that's just the song. Now this is the style. And not only that, but having actually finally gone to, like, a festival for this sort of stuff, Asteria, the reality of it is that this would not be considered out of place at all. This would not at all be jarring or shocking or even unexpected, because essentially every single track, front to back, is this. Switching out melodic, like very pretty, high-level, sparse, not very bassy melodic stuff with really heavy metal, essentially, bass drops. This is to the point where like this sort of cut up and like not really related sort of progressive structure is related now. It's not weird. It's literally just modern. It's just what this is now. And this is a fine example of it. Like now, way out here in 2020, we're looking at like the modernization of this as a tendency. Isn't that just ridiculous? Like, isn't that cool? So on the other hand, we also got to see what it looked like on the vector scope, like essentially the total opposite of that previous track, where it was exploding with width and clipping like a lot. And I guess it's fine. Like again, front to back, every other track this gets played with is going to be just like this. So there's nothing can be said other than this is a great job. So good job with that. One more time with finding my folders for things. Get out of there. Oh, well, that's my description information. I'm trying to have all my windows open so I can be efficient about this, and oddly, it's not panning out right now. Next up, we have Arkadius, Before Dawn. So if that previous track was the dawn with how bright this is, this actually does look kind of Twilighty in reference, doesn't it? It's kind of Before Dawn-ish. Here we go. Cool. This had a lot of really fun and unique spectral activity. And what was interesting is that you could see that it was going to be interesting because you really don't see shapes like that very often. Like, and then you hear it and it has, I mean, I don't know what I expected when I saw this, because I had not seen it before. I spent a lot of my time looking at these kind of interfaces and like the regular EQ interface and that kind of thing. And to the point where now when I saw this, I'm like, I don't know what that sounds like. And I heard it and it was definitely sort of like, I don't really think I've heard that before. And that happened kind of a bit in this track. Like there's lots of fun little tiny bits of things that are happening that are quite unique. And that's a difficult thing to do. Like either on purpose or even by accident, and perhaps even especially by accident, because if you kind of let yourself go, you're mainly going to do the things that you're influenced to do, which is to say, to copy stuff. So to either like deliberately experiment to get somewhere, is that a face? Does that look like a face to you? Good stuff, right? Also, this track hit plenty hard. It was pretty alright, and with like the mix, I liked it. It was fine. It could, I don't know, I got blasted away by that previous track, so I'm a little woobed out. But honestly, like the levels don't tend to matter much anymore these days. Like people are less. I don't know. I don't think you would think the loudness wars, the way that it was treated when it was sort of like when that term got coined, people were really afraid that like stuff like this would be lost, that we wouldn't get these kind of fine, present, like kind of with negative space stuff. But it totally is. It's not like the market diminished it. You know what I mean? Those are just genres. Go figure. I was gonna say something. Oh yeah, so the other thing that was neat about this track is that it very does not have the 2-track syndrome. It is very married in its progressive presence. Progression. That sounds like a medication. Progressive presence. It actually maintains a structure and like a statement throughout the whole thing, which is also very difficult. Good job there. Good job all around. Dug it. Dug the whole thing. Here comes Ishido, Glowing Stars. Yeah. Select. Here we go.
There's a blast of light, so bright. There's a shock wave, so powerful. An asteroid hit the Earth. The immense energy of that impact became a sheet of red-hot lava. Great clouds of smoke rose into the upper atmosphere. They broiled to death under the glowing skies. We may experience the same fate. I'm talking about a nuclear war. There are 15,000 nuclear weapons on the planet. There's a missile that's aimed at you right now. We're just one mistake away from a nuclear conflict. The immense energy of that impact became a sheet of red-hot lava. Great clouds of smoke rose into the upper atmosphere. They broiled to death under the glowing skies. We may experience the same fate. I'm talking about a nuclear war.
So what I thought was interesting about this whole thing was, I don't know if this was intentional or not, but these little bits here, this symbol kind of comes across in the spectrum looking like a bit of a nuke, right? And I thought that was neat. And then also over here, when we're talking about like oh, this kind of looks like the falling like missiles and things. I watch a lot of Terminator movies. So that was fun imagery. I don't know if that was intentional or not. I was over here too. I didn't actually see that in the beginning. Interesting. I wonder why. Otherwise, I think I know what you were trying to go for with this kick tone. I don't think it totally worked. It's a little too hard. Like this range of activity, that sort of big roomy boomy feel that feels okay, but still has hit and impact on those kicks. Like it's a softer layer than that, I think. This might have just been what you got out of whatever kick you had, and this was just what you had, and that was also, I guess, a good job. It's present, it's in there. It just kind of, the whoop is a little too long in the tooth to make it, like it has a rhythmic presence now that is kind of unfavorable, in my opinion, in the beat. But material isn't so much bad, it's just that it did also kind of not vary too much. Although this would be right in line with some sort of older school drum and bass, which, so also, I know this Citrus preset. I think it is absolutely hilarious that I've been listening to the last, like, couple weeks of Noisier Radio. They've been putting out a lot of their newer Vision talent up, and they have been doing that for months now anyway, but I've been hearing in more than one track this Citrus preset. And what's great about that is that I was trying to format that preset in a drum and bass material like in 2007. And I didn't really do a very good job. So it's kind of great that people are doing a good job now. It makes younger me very happy that that particular preset managed to shine. Because it is so old. It is OG Citrus 2003 brand new Citrus, and it's getting up there, like, actually in stuff, and that's great. That is just great. All right, alrighty then. Up next we have Crash 358 with Bonk. I wonder if this is like Donk, but Bonk. Did you put a bonk on it? Here we go. Well, the only metric that a track like this could possibly be held to is the question of what your goals were. And what it looks like your goals were to have this pattern go and to see how loud it could get before it died. And it seemed like the answer was pretty freaking far. That was really loud. But, you paid attention to the weighting of the high frequency weighting, which is good. Because normally when a lot of people will have a track like this that, like, beefs out the spectroscope as such, we would get, like, the ear-splitting high-frequency presence that's, like, not really a good deal. But this sort of ripping red mid-range stuff is where, like, the, like, real hit of loud and power comes from. And, like, at the end here, even, like, it felt like percussive in a way that you don't normally get out of speakers. And wow, look at that high-frequency presence there. Anyway, that was fun. Thanks for that incredibly ridiculous vectorscope. That was an interesting thing to behold. That was Bonk by Crash 358. After that, we will now play Oracle. I Think It Moved. Spelled E-Y-E. Here we go. It's an interesting problem to mix these kinds of bell tones. And bell tones in general, or organ sounds, or any of the kind of octave-focused, sign-based, smooth, bright, tingly things. And the reason why is because when they tend to add up, it's really hard to avoid a set of sounds as a result that are not usually, unless you're going for a real specific vibe, they're not usually what you want. Like, you're going to get that kind of clowny, carousel-y sort of glockenspiely, maybe vibey, that's perhaps not what you want. And the difficulty then is as well is that they can be really, really sharp because of how clean and tony they are. And that means that they're getting them to mix into stuff without, like, being able to hear them up without being the only thing you hear is difficult. This track did a really good job of not only having interesting tones that weren't as, like, they're not really that bad. Like, they're not any kind of bad. They don't really make me feel anything. Like, they don't feel clowny or weird or, like, carnival-esque, that kind of thing. You know, it actually has, like, a presence and sensation of it that's real unique. But it also maintains the hit. Like, the kick and the snare has presence, and the sub is heavy, and the bell tone texture as light and, like, so very light. We still have its presence like good because its weight is thought of and such that, yeah, it doesn't have to be that powerful, which enables some real good presence on the hit and impact stuff, because the higher frequency and cleaner a thing is, the less power it needs to sound as loud, which means that these guys' contribution to the headroom is minimal. Like, it didn't actually impact too much on the addition of how loud stuff was, because there's almost nothing to them other than the very loud bottom end of it, which enabled how clean and good this mix sounded. And which is why, like, I was interested with how quiet this looked. I saw that this was the drop and whatever, but, like, this was so very quiet. I was expecting it to be just a very loud and disparate thing, but nope, this is just how loud that presence is. To still be present. It just didn't need to be that loud. And it worked out good. So, good job, Oracle. Coming up after you is Adam Segre? Segre. Adam Segre. See, and then the name of the song is Przytulaj 9? Percy, like, I'm willing to bet that's a real word and all, because I don't, that's what I do. I have words sometimes, but oh wow, that's a fun looking texture. But I also am willing to bet that someone came up with that explicitly to force me to pronounce it and to never ever do it right. Anyway, here comes this track.
Był stream, a ona tam w nim. Dep najlepszy team, weź przytulaj ich. No może bez gir. W pracy był stream, w pracy był stream. W pracy był stream, w pracy był stream. Stream, 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 w pracy był stream, w pracy był stream, a ona tam w nim. Dep najlepszy team, weź przytulaj ich. No może bez gir. W pracy był stream, w pracy był stream, a ona tam w nim. Dep najlepszy team, weź przytulaj ich. No może bez gir. stream, gdy w pracy był stream, a ona tam w nim. Dep najlepszy team, weź przytulaj ich, no może bez gir. W pracy był stream, gdy w pracy był stream, w pracy był stream, gdy w pracy był stream. Stream, 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 w pracy był stream, w pracy był stream, a ona tam w nim. Dep najlepszy team, weź przytulaj ich, no może bez gir. W pracy był stream, w pracy był stream, a ona tam w nim. Dep najlepszy team, weź przytulaj ich, no może bez gir.
Neat. So, the only actual complaint I have about this track is the hats. They're too loud by like a dB, and I would think also to scoop out kind of this like 5K, 7K area a bit. And the reason for that is because every single other thing in this track has beautiful mix up there on that range. Its presence and like the way that they're weighted up there besides the hat is all great. So the hat's addition to stuff is an issue. That's the thing that needs to get mitigated, because like the main elements of this track are awesome. How nicely well done this kind of low end is pretty well outside to behold, and also like the main bass is cool. This Reese thing, you have such good Reese control, like the presence of it and the motion of it all, and like it's just super good, and it's all being kind of blown apart a bit by this hat. But yeah, other than that, this is a nice little like journey through a texture that I liked a lot. And good job, Adam Segre? Przytulaj. My God. And here, if you guys have any questions about this, please let me know. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. All that good stuff. And as usual, have a nice day.